I thought I'd share my first impressions of Pokémon Shield as I played it for the first time earlier this year. As a disclaimer, I only got to the 3rd gym before I decided to put it down. I'll explain why that is throughout the video, but I wanted to start with what I enjoyed. Firstly, I really like the concept behind Galar as a region, as it showcases England's industrial atmosphere with the trains, factories, and focus on energy. It provides a stark contrast to Alola's more colourful and natural environment, which, as I said in my X and Y video, just causes me to appreciate each game for their different focus, atmosphere, and theme. Sword Shield further celebrated England through the soccer-like stadiums, as gym battles were finally a spectacle with a crowd and Dynamaxing. That adds further strategy and complexity to gym battles, as you have to determine when the best time is to Dynamax, as it only lasts for 3 turns, compared to Mega Evolution and Z moves that don't really require any strategy, as you would have already decided who uses the gimmick before the battle, whereas Dynamaxing you have to make that decision on the fly. That is, unlike Mega Evolution that you automatically click on the first turn. So I found the gym battles genuinely difficult and well level scaled for someone who was trying to avoid trainers and only use the same amount of Pokemon as the gym leader. Like, I struggled against Milo and shamelessly had to stall with potions to defeat him. And I've always been a fan of the annual gym challenge idea with the tournament style Elite Four, since seeing it in the anime, and you can tell how big it is in Galar with the trainer cards and Leon being such a big celebrity that everyone admires. And this is important because otherwise the people of Galar don't really seem to have any aspirations or really anything interesting to say. Much like Scarlet and Violet, the NPCs and storytelling through the world or environment is one of the worst aspects of this game, and I really despise the NPC designs and how they all superficially smile. Pokemon NPCs weren't always like this. But anyway, I do wonder if this focus on your trainer rising through the ranks and becoming more popular in the Galar ended upon further. I'm not exactly sure how it would work, but there could have at least been something like Oras, where a crowd congregates near the stadium entrance after your victory. Maybe you get your own fan club as well, but this is sounding more and more like Team Yell, which would just be irritating. I've probably just played too much of my career in 2K, and I'm imagining you building out your profile or career, something along those lines, but that wouldn't necessarily be good. And the character customization is already quite good in this game. It's just I feel like this game is missing an additional element to this focus on the gym challenge, because otherwise there's nothing going on in Galar. Like, it's the most iterative, bare bones, and boring Pokemon game I've ever played. All of the characters are one-dimensional, and there is no story complexity, so the only reason to keep playing is your own motivation to become the strongest trainer. And that de-evolves the series back to its roots of Kanto, where you are singularly focused on collecting badges and defeating grunts. I personally don't find Kanto fun, as there is nothing going on either, as like Sword and Shield there's very simplistic routes with trainers waiting for you, but at the very least Kanto lets you freely run around unimpeded and take down the gyms in virtually any order. Whereas Galar, despite having nothing really to say, bogs you down in dialogue and hand-holding, and obstructs you from doing anything out of the linear order of events. Which is perhaps why trains are very fitting here, because you are on a one-way track, with training wheels attached the whole time. So unfortunately the journey is just not fun, as 95% of the time you are just mindlessly playing, because you are never challenged by firstly any ideas, as the characters fulfill a strict, stereotypical archetype that doesn't offer any insights While the gameplay doesn't challenge you aside from the gyms, as the forced EXP share ensures that you're always around the level curve, while you're also constantly healed, so the routes become a breeze. And again, at least encounter the routes were somewhat engaging as they are difficult to get through with the finite amount of money and items that you have at your disposal. So there is a sense of accomplishment and bonding with your Pokemon through the struggle. Whereas in Galar, Pokemon are trained and healed for you, so there's no sense of accomplishment. So the game just becomes a means to the end. And as Ryan said, you don't play a game that makes you feel miserable, and if you're not having fun playing it, it's not going to get any more fun just because you beat it. It's the exact opposite of that. You play because the journey is fun, and Sword and Shield's journey is unfortunately fundamentally flawed and not fun, and that is why I refuse to play any further. I did want to clarify that while I do personally despise Sword and Shield's existence, and truly think they're appalling and boring video games, I'm also not particularly disappointed. As I mentioned, I skipped it when it was released, so I have the benefit of hindsight and seeing how Pokemon has changed course since that point, and in my opinion it's changed for the better by committing to the open world direction, and it felt like the developers in Sword and Shield were almost tantalizing you with how you can see the additional fields and meadows in the distance, but you can't actually reach any of them because you're stuck to the linear path. So this game has actually just made me appreciate Legends Arceus and Scarlet and Violet all the more, with their focus on multiple quests and intriguing characters and stories. Overall, I view Sword and Shield in a similar light to X and Y, as this awkward interim that was rushed out before we received a more ambitious and realized game in Sun and Moon and Scarlet and Violet, as Sword and Shield dabbles into the technological capabilities of the new console with the wild area, but it doesn't fully commit to that direction, as it instead remains very traditional like X and Y. And this indecisiveness between keeping the game traditional or experimenting causes the final product to be a mess, but you may consider it to be a lovable mess that you can appreciate, as I did with X and Y, that I do prefer for its story, sounds, and music. Or you may consider Sword and Shield a train wreck, which is the stance I take. Like, I even think the game laughs at itself sometimes and is aware of how linear and restrictive it is.